How can you use your greatest losses? You know, in my time, I've lost my way. I've lost people, friendships, relationships. I've lost jobs. I've lost deals. I've lost trust. I've lost confidence. But in all of those losses, you find a lot of things. You find out if you can rely on yourself, or if there's other people that you can rely on. You also find out who you cannot rely on. But in some of the day-to-day learnings, for instance, with career, with loss of job, of course, you're going to look back and you're going to realize some of the things that you could have done differently, you should have done differently. And this is why experience is so important. When I was much younger, I thought that I had a strong skill set. I thought that I brought certain things to the table, and I was right. However, where you can really gain a lot of value that you can bring to an organization and to other people is in your experience and in your ability to be humble and realize that you have a lot to learn. Even as I've been in sales the last several years, there's been key deals that I've spent a lot of time on that have been lost. There have been situations where things didn't go exactly the way that I would have envisioned or would have hoped. That happened. And I think in all those key losses, what's critical that you do is you look back and you analyze those things. You see, where did things go amiss? Where did they go awry? What could I have done differently? These things give you the foresight to handle things that you're doing today and going forward completely differently, and in a way that you can help the planets to align. I'll give you an example. A few years back, a deal that I lost, I was able to actually take some of those key learnings, some of the milestones that were missed, some of the things and the mechanisms that I used in order to get the decision makers on the phone, just sending them a calendar invite and stressing the critical nature of our conversation, but also knowing how long it took for some of the processes to take, gave me the foresight to know that never again will I let any of these milestones slip. And so I was able to be much more regimented and plan out the milestones from my perspective so that I could convey them. Because if you don't communicate to others, then there's no way to convey those thoughts and stress the urgency behind those activities. I would also apply this to career. I could certainly look back to times in my career where I've been in different roles and might have been where I thought I was ready for the next level and I didn't get it. I think it's critical any time that you are in a position where things don't happen exactly as you think they will or should. I've been promised roles before multiple times where it didn't happen. And in all of those moments, you can't show surprise. You can't react. You can't lose your cool. You've got to make sure to manage each moment and each decision and each day at a time. And I think this is very true as well when you lose people or, things that matter very much to you in your life, like relationships or career. When you lose a job, I think it's very important to look back and reflect briefly and understand the things that perhaps you could have done differently. Or perhaps some of these things happen completely out of your control. It's important to make sure that you're controlling the controllables. And if you do that, then you can look back and not dwell, but look back for key learnings and lessons, things that you could have done differently. Perhaps you could have networked better. Perhaps you could have trusted people differently or given trust or earned trust differently. Built a network, build strong relationships. With a career, it's very important to make sure that you're always looking for the people that are going to pull you where you're going to go. The odds of getting a job, applying on a job board are small. You might be up against 1,000 people, so your odds are 1 in 1,000 unless you do something to change that. But if you are very consciously looking for ways to invest in yourself and in your network, adding value through knowledge and adding relationships of people that can know you and know what you do and envision you doing it for them or in their organization, those are the types of things that you want to be thinking about. Channeling your losses, I think, is important. My losses, my key losses in my life, drive me every day for a multitude of reasons. Some of the people that I've lost along the way, that has really taught me to live each moment to the fullest, not to think too far ahead. My younger self, I was always thinking far into the future. Now I take each moment at a time and I try to optimize that moment. As far as just losing my way, losing my path, I keep my focus very much on faith and family and friends, and following my passions and trying to add value, trying to add unique value wherever I go. And then as for relationships, I think it's very important, whether you've lost relationships, you've had friendships that have gone sour, that you look back, remember those good times. And some of these relationships cannot be resuscitated, but remember the good times and just be good to people. And then finally, as far as career, when you lose jobs, or maybe you lose a deal, or a project goes awry and you get a black eye from it, I think it's always important to make sure that you stay focused on yourself, because in the end, you're not going to be able to rely on a lot of other people to necessarily pull you out of that. You've got to be self-reliant, but you've also got to focus on yourself and your knowledge, your experience, your value. Where can you add those types of things? Because when you lose a job, you've got to make sure you can parlay your skills into something else. And that can often very much take, how are you selling your brand? How are you going to leverage your brand in order to make new relationships, make new connections? But also, how can you leverage your network and pay it forward as well, in order to help other people do that? Because I really believe, not only do I believe that the universe can be cyclical in that way, but if you have the opportunity to help others when they're in need, from a career perspective or some type of network perspective, do it. Help others, because you paying it forward will not only make an impression on that person who may someday help you back, but it's the right thing to do. And then lastly, if you lose a deal, be able to look back, or even just a prospect, just be able to look back, or a customer, understand what went awry. You can only control so much. And there's going to be some things that happen throughout life that not only can you not control, but they're going to sting even more because you did everything you could, or at least you thought you did. Look back and try to find these key indicators of what might have gone wrong. Where could you perhaps have done something differently? Could you have been more transparent? Could you have been more trusting? Could you have tried to earn trust a little bit better? Could you have taken care of their needs? Were there times that they expressed need and you didn't deliver? And then also, look at the other players that should be involved, especially if it's a deal or a relationship. Did you leverage all the resources that were at your disposal? And if you didn't, what could you have done differently? Take these key learnings forward, because I'll tell you, if you can channel your losses, your key losses, into everything that you care about, your faith, your family, your friends, your career, if you can do that and you can effectively channel what you've learned from these losses, I'm going to tell you, your best wins are ahead. Thanks for watching.